1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I ran out of fingers for how many wins Bayern Munich has in a row, and I'm not showing you my toes. 12 wins in a row for Bayern Munich after a 4-0 win over Club Brugge in the Champions League today. Welcome back to the Always Bayern Chelsea show. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd. Chelsea also got a 5-1 thumping of a win in the Champions League today over Ajax. Jim, if he can send me something by the time this video gets published, I'll edit it into this one. Otherwise, check out the channel, Always Bayern Chelsea, because he'll upload his videos separately if he can't. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Always Bayern Chelsea. Leave a comment, leave a like, all those great things. We're here to break down the matches today because we had two awesome Champions League matches. I mean, you add the scores together and it's 9-1. You know, Always Bayern Chelsea won 9-1 today, so that's pretty sensational. But yeah, I'm here to talk about Bayern Munich. My name's Danny. I'm the Bayern Munich fan. So let's jump right in. But before I do, just one quick announcement to make. First of all, thank you everybody for 300 subscribers. That's huge, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And the other thing is we are, I guess, sunsetting our audio-only podcast and focusing now just strictly on YouTube videos. Every episode, every podcast was also a video here on YouTube, so it's not like you're losing any content or anything. But to be totally transparent, the podcasting hosting platform that we use, Podcastle, I guess I'll drag them here. They create the RSS feed, they pump out the audio to all podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. They basically doubled the monthly price that we would be paying, and we just can't justify that at this point. Always Bayern Chelsea is a passion project for Jim and I right now, so we, unfortunately aren't making any money off of it. Maybe that'll change someday and we'll be able to revive it, but for now we're just sticking to YouTube, which is potentially a good thing for you if you're watching this on YouTube, because we're also going to be focusing more on live streams and just video content in general. So I'm super excited about it. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, enough boring stuff. Let's talk about the match, because again, 4-0, it was awesome. And Bayern Munich has now won all of their Champions League matches. They're 3-0 in the Champions League. I mean, they've won all their matches. They're 12-0 in general, but 3-0 in the Champions League, which means they do have 9 points. Right now, they're at second place in the table because PSG has, I believe, a plus 10 goal differential, where I think Bayern is at plus 9. Let me double check that so I don't look like an absolute fool. But yeah, okay. Actually, Bayern does have a plus 10 goal differential as well as PSG, but they're listed in second. I don't know what the second tiebreaker is, but either way, there's a lot more Champions League matches to be played, but they're looking good right now, no doubt, in the Champions League. So let's start with Vincent Kompany's lineup here, because there were a couple surprises for me, at least how the guys lined up. And I do want to mention that, like always, but I feel like especially in these matches against teams where Bayern is going to dominate possession, very fluid, very, very fluid. So I'll read you how it lined up on paper and maybe make a few notes about things, because it didn't always take this shape on the pitch, I guess. But yeah, Manuel Neuer in between the sticks. Great match from Neuer. Absolutely no complaints. He wasn't tested very much. Club Brugge, I feel like only put a couple shots on target, to be honest. And Neuer did good. Neuer, classically was playing way out of his box, was playing everywhere, and really just gobbled up any sort of attacking threat, although minimal, that Club Brugge had. And the back line was where things got interesting, because the outside backs were actually switched from how they normally play. So you'd expect Guerrero to be the left back. He was actually the right back, and you'd expect Laimer to be the right back. He actually played left back. Center backs were Upa and Tah. All the defenders, again, weren't tested very much defensively, but I thought were great. And spoiler alert, hang out to the end of the episode, or at least the end of my spiel, because I'll give you my full match awards, but Konrad Laimer was my man of the match. 2 assists in this one, and just was so good. And it almost seems like whatever side of the pitch Laimer is on is just way better. If he's on Diaz's side, Diaz is the best attacker, or at least the best winger. If he's on Olise's side, Olise is the best winger. That's how it was today. That's just how it's been. And Konrad Laimer is just becoming such a vital piece of this team. It's actually insane. And I have to give Vincent Kompany so much credit for unlocking Laimer as an outside back. I mean, the guy was a midfielder. So huge credit to Kompany there. We're going to talk more about Kompany in this one as well because, yeah, he did extend his contract at Bayern Munich until 2029, which is great news in my mind. It's really nothing but a win for Bayern, if you ask me. But yeah, as far as the center backs go, I thought Tah was better than Upa today. I think Tah is starting to settle in now. I think beginning of the year he had some questionable performances, and again, I don't want to preface this every time I'm complimenting somebody, but it was Club Brugge. The defense wasn't tested very much. Thought Upa was fine, just maybe a little bit less solid than Tah. Guerrero I also thought was pretty good. He was basically like drifting forward into the central attacking zones, and Kimmich was essentially acting as the right back, like as far as defensive duties go most of the time in this one. So Guerrero was almost nowhere to be seen on the defensive end, but I thought actually put up a good shift in terms of contributing to the attack. The midfield was really, really good. Kimmich and Pavlovic. Just a super, super solid match from the midfield, in my opinion. Pavlovic, I think, is slowly getting back up to that level that we saw him at beginning of last year before his injuries, as well as his rookie season. Pavlovic is just, he's putting up a lot of really great performances, sneaky good performances, and that's how I'd categorize this one, as in he was just so influential in pulling the strings on this team, and Kimmich always does that, so I don't want to take anything away from Kimmich because he was doing that as well, but I just thought Pavlovic, was so good with his passing. I think he was 101 for 103, which is like a 99% conversion rate. Insane. Really good, really, really good from Pavlovic. The whole team was good, so I'm not going to really dog anybody, but I will say I did think it was not one of Olise's stronger matches. Again, is it the Laimer, or is it the chicken or the egg, with Laimer on the other side this time? Olise also is probably tired. He's been playing so much for France, for Bayern. It's just the guy has not had a break. Same with Luis Diaz. And then Lennart Karl was actually at the 10, which I thought it was going to be Karl at the right wing, Olise at the 10. And again, these two were fluid. They were interchanging, so it's not like, whatever, one was really one versus the other. But on paper, Karl was the 10, and Harry Kane was the 9. The trifecta of Karl, Diaz, and Kane was phenomenal today. They all had a goal. And Karl's goal, we'll get to it, it was about 5 minutes into the match, was just an absolute banger of a goal. Such a solo effort. But all these guys, even outside of scoring their goals, were so impactful in this one. Just, Kane was doing what he's started to do with this new role of Musiala being out, is Kane's dropping deep and quarterbacking 50-yard passes right to a player's foot. So Kane did that a number of times in this one, as well as scored a goal. Luis Diaz was, people might talk about his finishing because I think we know what his finishing is at this point, and it's not perfect, but he made up for it and then some with how just energetic he was, and just, I'd say this about Karl too, the energy that these two bring and the way that this attack is humming, the way that this attack is clicking, it's so overwhelming for teams that it's almost like the rest of the pitch, I shouldn't say doesn't matter, but it's almost like that sometimes with how good this attack is. Right out the gate, they just suffocate you. They're like, pressing super hard. They're running nonstop, and they're so skilled and talented. And then you have a guy like Kane who's so lethal at his passes and, of course, at his finishing that it's like there's nothing you can do if you're a defense, because you see it a lot with Kane where he commands so much defensive attention that he's basically getting double teamed. And then that leaves enough space for Diaz or Olise or Karl or Gnabry when he's fit. And it's just impossible to defend. Like, it's completely impossible to defend. So those are my overall thoughts about how all the players performed, I guess. And now getting into the match, I mean, I mentioned it, 5 minutes into the match, we see Lennart Karl, field a pass from Jonathan Tah, I believe, and then basically dribble through and just burn the entire Bruges team. I mean, his first touch was insane, and then he was able to take it right through. I didn't count, but it felt like 6, 7, 8 defenders, and he's dribbling through them. He finds himself, from distance. He doesn't even get really into the box, I don't believe, and he just fires off a looping shot out of range from the keeper, and that's what this kid brings. I mean, this kid, he's only 17 years old. He was born in 2008. He's younger than my little brother, which is completely insane to me and probably nobody else listening, but completely insane. And this guy just, I mean, he brings the energy, he's fearless. He is just, he loses the ball quite a bit. He's so fearless, but it's almost like that doesn't matter either, because with a young kid like this, you want to see him be fearless, and, you want to see him take these chances and make these chances, really. And the way that Kompany celebrated with the coaching staff, they all hugged each other, the way that the whole team just engulfed this kid when he scored this goal, it was just awesome to see. And I think it just says so much about, number one, Kompany's leadership, because he's responsible for this mostly. He's at the helm of this. But two, just the chemistry in the locker room, the chemistry, the good vibes that are just like emulating from this team right now. I mean, the aura is insane with this team. And, you see it with a kid like Karl, who's just, not afraid. And you see it with the reaction from this team. And it could be one of those things where guys are, a little, I don't know, upset, and no one's going to come out and say this, but Karl's getting the minutes, and they could be upset that they're not getting the minutes. But it just isn't like that with this team, that, and that's completely credit to Kompany. It really is. And the way Karl's playing, I need to see more of him. I mean, I just do. And it's probably going to come at the expense of like Jackson's minutes, to be quite honest. But if Olise needs a rest, I think we're getting to the point where you can trust Karl. And I'm not saying trust him against PSG. I'm not saying trust him against Arsenal to play 90 minutes, but I'm saying, hey, maybe against Gladbach this weekend, throw him a start. I mean, he's repaying you. He comes out 5 minutes in and bangs home this goal. So it's like, I trust Kompany completely at this point with his lineups and his tactics. I mean, he's pulling all the right strings, so I think you'd have to be an absolute idiot not to. But I'm starting to see enough from Karl where it's like, and I'm going to sound like I'm ripping on Jackson. He actually scored a goal in this one, so I'm not, just ripping on him. But I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't think it's worth starting Jackson over Karl necessarily if it comes down to those two. So I really just want to give Karl a bunch of credit. And then, 14 minutes in, not even 10 minutes later, we get the second goal. And this is Kane's goal, but it was really credit to Konrad Laimer. Again, my man of the match with this one. Diaz, Laimer, great link up there. And Laimer, I think, megs the defender and just finds Kane's foot with the cross. And Kane really just has to let the ball hit his foot and go into the net. So, credit to being in the right place at the right time for Kane. But this goal, the majority of the hard work in this goal was done from Laimer. So a really good team goal, but really credit to Laimer and credit to, obviously, Diaz and Kane, too, just for how these guys are working together, how they're on the same page. It's just scary right now. If you're an opponent, I would be scared. And from that point, Bayern is just relentless. Pavlovic fires off a shot off the inside of the crossbar, or actually the side post, I believe it hit. And Diaz, I believe, had a couple of chances in there. At that point, Kane as well had a chance off the bar, and or again the side post, I think it was. Or actually, Kane's actually might have won off. It was like the corner of the goal, if that's something you're really trying to visualize. But my point is that Bayern was not giving up. They were not satisfied at 2-0. They wanted more. They get more, but at this point, it's just like all Bayern. Their press is too much for Bruges. Their attacking prowess is too much. And it just, things are just flowing. The Allianz is bumping. It's an awesome time. And then in the 34th minute, we do see that third goal, which does come from Luis Diaz, top bins, but again is assisted by Konrad Laimer, who is truly, I said it before, but like he is becoming one of the most valuable players on this team, which is so insane to think about, just because of the kind of player he is. But it really is like wherever Laimer's at, that's where the attack flows. That's where the attacking chances are created. That's where the defense really has to sweat. And I've said it enough about this guy, but he brings the energy every match. He has got that edge to him. He has that aggression. And even this year, like, he's been a good defender this year too. Last year when he was learning that outside back role, there were a lot of times where his positioning was off. This year, I haven't seen it yet. Now, maybe he'll get burned by an Mbappe or some other incredible attacking player. Maybe, but I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to say it's going to happen quite yet. He's just been that good. And, Konrad Laimer, like, sure, he'll have an unnecessary tackle. He'll get a yellow card, maybe once a game, basically. It's forgivable at this point because of how well he's playing. And it really is something to behold, and I think we have to talk about it more because, at first I thought, maybe it's a coincidence. Diaz had his best game of the season. The game Laimer was on that side. Oh, okay, Olise had a tough game. Now Olise's doing good again the next game, and Laimer's on that side. It's just happened too many times now where it's no longer a coincidence, and it really is something you just have to talk about, and you have to give him his flowers for because, it was just truly, truly incredible. And then, the 55th to 65th minute, we get into halftime here. Bayern is still firing. There's still just so many chances. I can't even remember who had all these chances. Olise, Kane, I think, Diaz for sure, because I know Diaz missed a couple. But Bayern was just so relentless. After maybe the 65th, 64th minute or so, they probably took their foot off the gas a little bit, which oddly enough, I think I'm okay with in a game like this because there was no shot Club Brugge was going to score. Absolutely nada, zilch. There was no threat that this game was ever in danger. And let's be honest, Bayern's playing 2 matches a week for the foreseeable future now. I mentioned BSG, I mentioned Arsenal. So there's no games where you can really just rest. So I was okay with them kind of just maintaining the control as opposed to go, sprint for 90 minutes straight. I was okay with it in this one. And again, like any chance that Bruges had, Neuer was just there. Neuer dribbled somebody in this match at one point as well, which is just funny to mention because, it's classic Neuer. He's a keeper, but he's basically playing like a midfielder. And then we saw some subs eventually, maybe a little bit late. Maybe these subs were a little bit late, but honestly, like I said, Kompany pulling the strings right now, no complaints from me. So I'm not gonna say anything, but it was about the 70th minute when we saw these subs. Jackson, Bischoff, Goretzka come on, and Kane, Guerrero, Karl come off. Not a whole lot happening at this point in the match where you're really gonna see enough from these guys to make a judgment one way or the other. Although we did see Jackson score. That was the 79th minute. Jackson got the goal. It was Olise who made a nice move, found Laimer. Then Laimer put in a shot. It was deflected. Ball went right to Jackson's foot. Jackson, calmly slides in the finish, and it's 4-0 at that point, which is awesome. So great for Jackson to get that goal. I hope his confidence continues to skyrocket because I shouldn't say continues to, I hope it does skyrocket because I think it's kind of down in the dumps right now. Jackson has not panned out at Bayern Munich so far. He's at this point maybe just a backup for Kane, but like I said earlier, I don't see the point in playing him even over a 17-year-old like Karl. But I think if Jackson can be consistent, it's going to be huge for this Bayern team, because as the season goes on, it's just a brutal schedule for these guys. You're going to need everybody to show up. You're going to need Jackson at some point this year. We're going to be, down on our luck. We're going to have an injury or two. These guys are going to be tired. We'll have English week after English week, and it's going to be the 75th minute, and we're going to need Jackson to come on, and we're going to need him to be sharp. We're going to need him to be confident. So if we can get that, I really do think it's going to just be, I shouldn't say good night to the rest of the world, but you know what I mean. It's going to be a great season for Bayern, and that's the kind of thing that could push them, past a double potentially into that treble conversation, which it's way too early to truly talk about, but that's the kind of thing that will do it. 81st minute, we saw a couple more subs. Upa comes off, Kim comes on, Diaz comes off, and Mike comes on. Again, good to get these guys some rest. Diaz and Upamecano are also key figures in their international teams, so it's just good to sub them off, and even if it's just for 9 minutes, get them that extra bit of rest. Wisdom Mike, really want to give him a shout out, because he brought the energy as well. Maybe he was inspired by his fellow young partner there, Karl, getting the actually official UEFA Man of the Match award, but just getting the goal and being so influential in this one. Karl, he fired off multiple shots that were really close. One of them was saved. One of them was just a few inches from being a goal. He actually found Kane on one with a beautiful pass that I think Kane wasn't expecting, because it looked like Karl was going to just make another run. But yeah, it was just a great game overall from Karl. I think Wisdom Mike saw that and, wanted to get in on the action. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough time to get on the score sheet, but he did rip off a couple of nice looking shots. One of them was maybe just right to the keeper. But still, it was a nice, solid performance from Mike, so I gotta give him that. And again, it's just about the energy for me a lot of times with these youngsters. It's about how they impact the flow of play, how they impact the game. So shout out to Wisdom Mike for getting in on this one. But that's how this one ended up. I'm going to go through my match awards now, which are, of course, way more consequential than the UEFA match awards. But man of the match, I said it before, it's Konrad Laimer. Rewind if you want to hear me talk about how impressive Konrad Laimer was in this one. But my Robin is Karl. Karl, again, I just got done talking about it. He was everywhere. He was fiery. And that's what I like to see out of him. That's what I got to see out of him. My underrated player of the match was Luis Diaz, just with how, he was also chaotic. He was also creating energy. And it's the difference between a Leroy Sané or a Kingsley Coman is they'll have their misses too. They actually miss more than Diaz, I think. But Diaz is still he's just causing so much trouble and just commanding so much attention from the defense, even if he isn't finishing every single chance that he creates for himself. So he just works better with this attack right now. And again, the work rate that he gives you is absolutely insane. So shout out to Luis Diaz. Defender, I'm giving to Jonathan Tah. Thought it was a really solid match from Tah. I think he's just getting better and better, and we'll see what it's like when we play the top teams in Europe. But shout out to Tah. I mean, that's 2 really good matches in a row. I thought he was really solid against Dortmund as well. So those are my match awards for this one. Next up on the docket for Bayern Munich is going to be Borussia Mönchengladbach this weekend, Saturday, October 25th at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's what we operate off of here in Milwaukee. And I should say actually Central Daylight Time. Not like any of you probably even caught that or care, but I believe it's daylight time until 2 weekends from now when it switches to Central Standard. So there you go, if you need a lesson on how dumbass daylight savings time works in the United States. Bayern Munich, Bayern is first in the table. Again, undefeated this year, 21 points, plus 23 goal differential, which is comical. I mean, that's amazing. So 7 Bundesliga games, 7 wins, 3 points per game, 21 points. That's where I'm going with that. And then Gladbach, you really got to search. You got to put on your cheaters to find Gladbach when you're looking at the Bundesliga table, because they're all the way down in 18th, which is pathetic because they're a much better team than a bottom table team. But, they're dealing with injuries and stuff. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, they only have 3 points. So out of 7 games, they've only mustered up a measly 3 points. And I believe that's 3 draws. I don't think they even have a Bundesliga win yet. They have a -9 goal differential. So just pathetic, really. Their last couple matches here, they lost to Union Berlin. They drew Freiburg, lost to Frankfurt, drew Leverkusen, and then lost to Bremen. So, interesting kind of results there. You wouldn't expect kind of the draws that they got versus the losses they got. At least I wouldn't. Gladbach has been kind of a hard team to predict, but hey, I'm going to be doing some Bundesliga predictions. I put out a short last weekend. I'm going to try to do that every week, where I just go through the schedule and put out a short and predict the scores and who I think is going to win. So if you're interested in the Bundesliga, follow along there. Really, it's going to be a good time. You can laugh at me if I suck. I think last week I got maybe 6 right and 3 wrong, so it was a decent week, if I'm recalling correctly. But yeah, Gladbach has a new manager who I really don't know much about, to be honest. Eugene Polinsky. Again, he's one of the few managers in the Bundesliga that I just really don't know much about at all. So I wish I could tell you more, but they are dealing with a couple of crucial injuries, and I think that's behind their slow start. But it really is going to be hard for them to dig themselves out of this hole that they made. But yeah, obviously their best player is Tim Kleindienst, a striker who I really like. I think he's a great striker. He's injured. And then Robin Hack as well. He's a left wing, one of their other best attackers. He's injured. And a couple other notable guys on Gladbach, at least for me, being an American. They do have Giovanni Reina, who's kind of a winger, maybe 10 kind of combo guy. And then they also have Joe Scally. So those are two, Joe Scally's a defender, 2 guys who are regulars on the U.S. men's national team. If you care about that, a little interesting there, that those guys both went to Gladbach. And then, yeah, Bayern Munich, again, is just rolling right now. They're absolutely incredible with 12 straight wins. And I wanted to mention, the Vincent Kompany contract extension, because in my mind, this is really huge. I think it's a signal of stability at the club, which, let's be honest, the club has not had stability when it comes to coaches since, I don't know, probably Jupp Heynckes. I think that I read this was the first contract extension from a coach at Bayern Munich for over 10 years, which is insane. I think there's a little bit of fine print with that because Hansi Flick was an interim coach and then got hired full-time, so I guess that's not technically an extension, but either way, it goes to show the instability in the coaching room, and Kompany deserves a ton of credit for that. He's got the entire locker room behind him. They've bought into what he's selling, which is not easy to do at FC Hollywood. I mean, he's calmed the storm that was Thomas Tuchel. I mean, Tuchel fractured the locker room. Half the guys hated his guts. And Kompany just, he goes in and handles the insane media pressure that is Bayern Munich in Germany. And he's passing all these tests with flying colors. So I think to lock him up is a really smart move. I think, some people are saying, you got to wait until we play tougher teams in the latter half of the season. I see that point, but, to be honest with you, I was a little worried the Kompany was going to maybe look around. His previous contract ended in 2027. This one goes to 2029 now. And I was worried that he was going to, maybe get a little fidgety because Pep Guardiola's contract expires in 2027 as well, I believe. And obviously, Kompany was the captain of Manchester City. I'm sure there's a lot of emotion, nostalgia attached to that club for him. So that's one of the biggest jobs in the world as well. And I thought that they were going to try to lure him in. So I'm okay with it. And I think, again, Kompany's turned around a lot of these players. Davies, Kimmich, Upa, Laimer. He's done great. And I really just don't think you can complain about anything this year. We have 12 wins in a row. And the other thing, too, that I think is so big with this extension, this signals, again, a sense of stability. And when you're looking at guys like Kane, when you're looking at guys like Upamecano, who again, Kompany revived his career. When you're looking at guys like that, their contracts are going to need to be extended. And if they know, hey, this guy that I love, Vincent Kompany, is staying, he's the most important employee at the club. He's sticking around so that things are going to be stable. I love this guy. He's done great things for my career. Hey, it might be a good idea for me to extend as well. And I just think that's huge. So credit to Bayern for getting that done, and credit to Kompany, because the first thing he said when he was asked about it in his press conference was, I really didn't want this to become a distraction. So they asked me a week ago, and we just kind of sat down and ironed out the details and got it done. And, these kind of things can go on for months, sometimes like years. And so for him to just sit down and be like, let's do it. Let's continue on like this in a week or less. No leaks to the media either, which is insanely rare for Bayern. I just think it's like green flag after green flag. So I'm fully behind Vincent Kompany right now, and I'm just excited that he's back. He's going to be here for the long haul. I think it sends a great message to the locker room. I really do. So let's give some predictions for this Bundesliga match now. Starting lineup, it's interesting. I do think we're going to see Sacha Boey back in there. I guess I should say I think Neuer's going to be the keeper. Urbig, haven't heard much from him since his injury, but he is slated to start the Pokal match next week, Wednesday, against Köln, because Neuer is still suspended from his red card last year in the Pokal. So there's a possibility you could try to warm Urbig up in a match like this, but I think it's going to be Neuer. I think we're going to see Sacha Boey back at right back, Laimer over there at left back. This could definitely be a match to rotate the center backs, but I think I'm just going to go Upa and Tah. It seems like Kompany, he doesn't love to rotate those center backs. I think he wants to keep building their relationship, so I think I'm going to go with Upa and Tah. Don't be surprised if you see Kim in there. Midfield, again, I think it's similar to the center backs. I think we're going to see Pavlovic and Kimmich again. Don't be surprised if you see Goretzka. Don't be surprised if you see Bischoff. But I just think he's kind of locking these partnerships down and just wants to strengthen them as the season goes on. I think we're going to see the same attack we did in this one. I do think we're going to see Karl start again. I think we're going to see Olise at the right wing, Karl at the 10, Diaz at the left wing, and Kane at the 9. If Gnabry's healthy, he might start. He very well could and probably would start if he was healthy, but I don't know exactly the status of Gnabry's injury. It's apparently not serious, but he hasn't been training yet, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets rest again. And I think Karl did more than enough to earn a start in the Bundesliga with his performance here. So that's what I'm going to go with. And then for a prediction, I think I'm going to go big. I think I'm going to go 5-0 Bayern. And it could very well be a match similar to this one where they get out to like a 3-0 lead, make a bunch of subs, and then just chill and not score anymore. But I'm going to go 5-0 just because, especially if you see a hungry youngster like Karl start. And again, Gladbach has been so dreadful so far this year that I think it's going to be one for Bayern to pile on and just continue this like red hot momentum that they're on, this red hot form, and just roll this momentum on. So, that's my thoughts for this one. Again, Chelsea won 5-1 today over Ajax in the Champions League. So a great, outstanding win from Chelsea as well. Subscribe here at Always Bayern Chelsea. Like, comment, all that amazing stuff. Thank you again for 300 subscribers. Thank you for sticking with me. And I think that's where we leave off, because it's a good day to be a Bayern fan and also a Chelsea fan, Jim. Mia San Mia.